Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 14th of April 2021, also the first of Ramzan. So a happy Ramzan to all of you who are, of course, fasting. And nevertheless, let's go with the subjects that we'll be talking about during the course of this show. We will be talking, first of all, about the US troops that will be leaving Afghanistan by the 11th of September, and this withdrawal will begin before the 1st of May. This was told in a news conference by an official, and of course, this deadline has been set in the US-Taliban agreement that was signed last year. You know about the 1st of May, and you know that there were expected to be some delays as far as the troops' withdrawal from Afghanistan was concerned. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, of the day will concern Iran's top diplomat Javad Zarif, who has said on Tuesday that an attack on the Natanz, a nuclear facility which is blamed on Iran, was a very bad gamble, and it will strengthen Tehran's hand in talks to revive a 2015 nuclear deal with major powers. Now, of course, Israel has been trying to destabilize whatever was of the past of the nuclear deal or is the present condition of the nuclear deal. And Iran has said in no uncertain terms that Israel is behind all of this. Now, of course, there are also attacks on Israeli and the Iranian vessels in the Middle Eastern waters as well. What is going to happen with the future? That is going to be our second segment. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the withdrawal of the US troops from Afghanistan, which will end by the September 11th of this year, and the withdrawal will begin before the 1st of May. To talk more about this withdrawal, the impact, and of course also the significance of the complete withdrawal by the 11th of September, we've been joined by Adnan Qaiser Sahab. He's a foreign affairs expert. Adnan Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much. It's a delight to be at your show once again.
Sir,
and Assalamu alaikum to all your viewers, and happy Ramzan to everyone.
The pleasure is all ours, sir. First of all, there are a couple of questions when it comes to this withdrawal. Firstly, May 1st, then the Taliban had certain disagreements, and they had openly talked about these disagreements, and the latest tweet by Mr. Mohammad Naeem also is tantamount to that fact. Then there is the complete withdrawal by the 11th of September, which is a date which I don't think will bide well or with the Afghan Taliban. What's your comment on that?
So first of all, I had written a comprehensive paper last year during this Corona season on Afghanistan. It was published by South Asia Journal in United States in 5-part series and by the Geopolitics in 7-part, in which I had analyzed Afghanistan from all different areas. And my starting premise was that this peace deal had been signed on a rare leap day.
On 29th of February.
And its chances of success is equally rare. So that's how we immediately started seeing there had been roadblocks, there had been obstacles by the Ghani government, and there had been a lot of misperceptions and misconceptions in between. And now again, the Trump government had a different perspective. The Biden government had different perspective. And now, if you see it in a broader perspective, why is it happening? I'll take you back to the Afghan war, and there had been a conflict between the American establishment that comprises the CIA and the Pentagon. They were not willing for the withdrawal, but as a political decision, the Trump administration decided for the withdrawal. So Mr. Biden had a lot of responsibility on his shoulders to either to go ahead with the withdrawal or not. Now there is still a lot of discussion going on, and this is like a breather which President Biden has got. Unfortunately, this September 11th date is a bad omen again. Very unfortunate incident took place about 20 years ago. Now, first of all, I do not see this withdrawal will actually take place or not.
But there's a lot of pressure on the US as far as the withdrawal is concerned.
But again, try to see in a broader perspective. There is a political pressure on the United States, but United States interests, geopolitical interests, do not lie in withdrawing from Afghanistan.
All right.
First of all, see in a great competition which has started between China and Russia. Russia,
But Adnan, the thing is that you talk about the conflict between China and the US, and that is what a lot of politicians in the US are saying, that they need to move away away from Afghanistan and towards China, in fact, towards this conflict, and concentrate their efforts towards that. I mean, maybe that is also because they want to completely remove themselves.
Allow me to mention about the C5+1, a very important alliance which United States had been developing with the Central Asian republics in the past about 5-10 years, because it wanted to offset there had been a collective security treaty agreement, or CATSO, by Russia, which trying to, because Russia believes Central Asia as its backyard. So now United States has been trying to offset that thing. So for that, United States needs to have a presence in Afghanistan. Secondly, which we will be talking subsequently about, the Iran's nuclear program, which is a great threat, by the way, to everyone in the region and beyond. So first of all, so the United States is concerned, especially the Pentagon and the American establishment, that, you know, if they withdraw from here, although they have military bases in Diego Garcia, they have military bases elsewhere, and they had a logistical agreement with India as well. But again, you know, their presence in Afghanistan is needed. How they pursue Taliban, they convince Taliban that their presence is needed. Taliban are very pragmatic people, and you will see some concession is going to come sooner or later on this account. But again, Taliban would like to have a larger piece of cake or pie in the Afghan government, and Mr. Ghani has been acting as a spoiler. I have mentioned earlier as well. You know, his interest, as well as the interest of his former Northern Alliance, the Tajik, Uzbek, and other Hazara community, they do not lie, or the warlords who have entrenched themselves, who have you know, got stronger by siphoning off the arms and equipment which had been coming to Afghan war. They had been siphoning it off and getting themselves, their militias, they're stronger under the name of Arbakis and Critical Infrastructure Force. So all these things are pretty complicated.
When you talk of complications, Adnan, let's go to another complication and alliances, as you've also mentioned. That is the alliance between the US and Israel, the alliance between Iran and China, and of course the relationship between Israel and Iran. Now, Jawad Zarif Saab says that Israel has made a very bad gamble by sabotaging the Iranian nuclear site, and of course he mentions that in respect to what happened at Natanz, and of course the attack that happened, it was a small attack, but it was an attack nevertheless. Above and beyond that, there are other skirmishes also that are occurring between Israel and Iran. There is also the attacks on the Iranian and the Israeli vessels that are happening in the Middle Eastern waters, and so on and so forth. Seeing all these three cases, causes and the reasons that Ali has pointed out, Adnan, and of course the fact that Israel does not want any JCPOA to move forward, and it is very evident through the timing of this attack on the Natanz facility. How can Iran move forward? Because if I quote Mr. Jawad Zarif, he said whatever happened in Natanz makes it possible for Iran to legally do whatever it takes to compensate for this terrorist stupidity. And I'm quoting, unquoting, I assure you that in the future the Natanz site will move forward with more advanced centrifuges. Where does that leave the JCPOA then?
First of all, try to understand, and my views might be divergent from a general perception about Iran, because Iran is considered in Pakistan as a Muslim country. But when we talk about geopolitics, there are hard facts which we need to take into account. First of all, it's not only Israel which is concerned about the Iran's nuclear program. All the responsible countries in the region and beyond are worried that, you know, it's a dual-edge technology. And if Iran is allowed access to the nuclear technology, then one day, you know, it can build a bomb, a nuclear device. Right. So this is one. So Israel is not alone. So first of all, Israel has an existential threat from Iran. Now, apart from that, you know, Iran and United States are the two only countries in the world who have a different style of taking warfare. They take warfare away from their borders. So Iran uses militias or proxy militias like Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq. So it has or Houthis or the Shiite crescent in the Middle East. So it has taken the war away from its borders.
All right.
So now it's again, as it has been mentioned, there is a proxy war which has been going on. And if you understand about Israel, there had been a very popular book which came as Rise and Kill First. So that shows about Israel's mindset. Because, as earlier I had mentioned that Israel and Pakistan are one of the 4 countries which are called as the national security states, which face existential threat to their existence. So Pakistan is one, Israel is second, South Korea is third, and Taiwan is the fourth. So Israel has legitimate concerns.
South or North Korea, by the way?
South Korea,
okay.
not the North Korea.
Okay.
Because North Korea can take any action.
All right, we have seen that.
So apart from so Iran tried to understand. So now this language which very regretfully the foreign minister of Iran has used, this is not diplomatic. This is not diplomacy. We understand that their interest is to have access to the nuclear technology, and JCPOA grants it, but it delays the process of accessing nuclear know-how to Iran by a couple of years.
All right. We'll continue the news, Adnan. When we see this whole, tense relationship between Iran and Israel, and between the US and the JCPOA, there are so many factors involved. There's Afghanistan as well. There is China and Iran that are also developing closer relations. Now, and Iran, of course, that has decided to further enrich its uranium capabilities. As Jawad Zarif also told a joint news conference, he said Israel played a very bad gamble if it thought that the attack will weaken Iran's hand in the nuclear talks. And he said this, quote unquote, with his Russian counterpart in Iran. So that also makes Russia a part of this whole, environment. Where is all of this going?
So this is all going towards a further confusion. So now the problem is this, that you see, United States has always tried to fight its problems through what used to be the Napoleonic wars of 18th and 19th centuries. During the Napoleon Wars, the Great Britain, was a superpower at that time, if you will, and it had developed allies. Strong allies in the shape of Austria, Prussia, and so now at that time, so the same principle, United States has also applied in Afghanistan and elsewhere, and now in the shape of Quad as well in the South China Sea. Allies. Now, unfortunately, the allies were not on board. The European allies were not on board the United States on this nuclear program. Because it's the geoeconomics these
days.
Everyone's economic interests are tied to oil and gas, like what China has done. Although I have a lot of question marks or with regards to this strategic agreement with 25 years, because China is very reluctant in accepting about this.
But let's see, now let's see how it all follows in the days and the years to come, because as we see, there is a new dimension of this geoeconomic or geostrategic relationship that is developing across the world, and we see new alliances being developed. How will that bode for the JCPOA? How will that bode for Iran as a country as well? Only time will tell. Thank you very much, Adnan Qaiser Saab, who have joined us for both these segments of today's show. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of today's show. We'll see you, inshallah, tomorrow at 5:05 with the news stories that matter to you and to us. Till then, stay tuned. Have a blessed Ramzan, first Roza, and Allah Hafiz.